if the same, at the same time, if you want to, do anything at a later point of time, you have to spend enormous amount of energy, enormous amount of effort to achieve the same outcome. So children have, for example, I wanted to say, like, there is a tremendous challenge in terms of adolescents seeking the guidance, because there is so much challenges that actually the changing world is creating the problems of adolescents. Are they able to get the kind of a guidance they're able to get? So maybe AI can become like a their personalized coach, a life coach, which can actually provide a lot of skills that are required. Like, while actually you require human connection, human, the coaches, but at the same time, AI can actually provide a tremendous. So we're doing a little bit of an experiment, using this one. We are trying to bring, behavioral healthcare fellows. The idea is that you can actually, these are the people who actually can leverage the AI. We can't actually have the therapists everywhere. It's a tremendous challenge. That, like, so, but we can actually use a lot of platforms, AI platforms. In fact, we're using some of the platforms like Visa, where you can actually use those platforms to provide personalized guidance for the adolescents, and not to adolescents. In fact, we wanted to expand this to even the pregnant mothers. Have a post this antenatal and postpartum depressions. So the idea is that how do you leverage the technology, especially for is an important thing. But just like to conclude, what I wanted to say is that you require human connection, and you also require, you also actually, so basically it requires to go together, not parallelly, not in silos. Many times, like, in the internet revolution, what has happened was they went little silo. Maybe, I think, maybe if strategically, if you can bring them together and start working together, the human connection, as well as the AI, the leverage, I think if we can actually mix it, I think we can get better results. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So may I pass Kanika to you? So we are passing the parcel, which is basically the mic. So I think this is a great segue to say what are the connections. AI can help to save time. It tremendously brings down the need to do repetitive tasks ourselves. It's great with data insights because it mines data much faster than what we could manually have done. However, and there's always a however, and that however is that how do you make sure that there is value, purpose, as well as young people have the skills to navigate AI responsibly, that they are not passive consumers of AI. So OpenAI this week launched the teen safety framework, and which is to say that the content that teenagers get will be different from what adults get, depending on what age have you registered when you are accessing the platform. Having said that, how do we build the values and skills that are necessary for adolescents to become active users of AI, responsible users of AI, are able to discriminate between ethical and non-ethical use of AI, do not cause self-harm in the process, as has happened just few weeks back, and yet make sure that they're not completely discarding AI as something that should not be accessed. So is it about ultimate bans on one side to responsible use and enabling young people to use it as a tool? So what are your thoughts on it, Kanika?
I mean, I think, well, AI is here to stay, and it should, right? I think it is a great enabler, and I think that's for young people. I think understanding that it is an enabler is very crucial. So, what is it? This whole, a little bit of demystifying what AI is, and what technology can do for you. I think that's really crucial. So, when we talk about digital literacy, I'm not sure how much of emphasis is on just demystifying and understanding, also understanding how it's built. When you understand that actually you are shaping AI, you are feeding AI, and you are training AI with every interaction, there's so much more agency and power than saying, oh, AI is telling me everything.
Yes.
Right? So I feel if we start really just understanding what the hell AI is and helping young people understand that, and in that process, this whole thing around ethics and values, I mean, simple things that have always been, were very clear in the past, which is like, how do you share credit? Like, where is the source of knowledge coming from? How do you give credit to whoever you are, quoting. I think not needing to do that because AI will generate this sort of generalized, but having picked out from very relevant sources for you means you don't really know, you don't understand what these sources are. You're not tapping into the experiences that information is actually coming from. So I think just simple things like that is letting young people understand that this is great, like the enabling is great, but what do you need to dive deeper into? What are the questions you have to ask? So this is where license come in, the critical questioning and thinking, which is what is missing in this information. What else do I need to ask? Who else should I ask this from? So this ability to ask more questions of the information, which we do very easily with human beings, by the way. When your teacher tells you something or your parents tell you something, you want to go to 3 more people, right? You're not just going to say Dadaji ne bol diya, so let's just do that, right? And that's the thing to do. You must seek more information from more sources. And while AI is not one source, we understand that. I think not valuing or devaluing rather life experiences, either that of others or of your own. So how do you? I would say how do we take the responsibility to make AI smarter by not cutting down the life experiences that we get because we are going to make AI smarter.
Correct.
So I think that's sort of crucial. On the other hand, I think also recognizing that AI is here to stay and it will change the nature of jobs we do. It will, I mean, it is going to shift many things. What are then the life skills that we must focus on? AI is not going to replace human interactions. Where so there is financial literacy as a life skill, very important, of course, but empathy also, and maybe more so because financial literacy will pick up from AI. Empathy you can't demonstrate through AI. Relationship building, collaboration, there will be so many of these life skills that will not get replaced and will actually become highly valued over time. And these are life skills that I think we need to be investing in. And I think the sort of win there is that when you actually invest in these life skills, then I feel a lot of the principles, the values, the ethics also start coming up as young people examine things more critically, as they take more decisions for themselves. They will evaluate many factors and facets. I think that's something that we've always seen. When you trust them to do it, then they can, and keep investing in young people as active citizens, and the leadership experience that young people will need. We firmly we rely on the values of the Constitution: liberty, equality, justice, fraternity. And if young people reflect that, hopefully so will AI, and that's a win. So I think doing both, keeping both alive, and educating young people on what is AI and how to build AI, not just how to use it.
So you cannot just be only automated, because that's not the answer. But are you curious? Are you adaptable? Are you responding to change? So just being highly automated is not the answer. Well said. So turning to you, Tanushree, and extending that, and you'll have to pass that parcel. And extending that conversation on safeguards. AI is now a part of classrooms. It is a part of every device. We almost do everything consciously or unconsciously driven by algorithms, and so do children who are learning. Sampath sir spoke about neural pathways. Those neural pathways can only work if there are experiences that you get exposed to. But if AI sort of stymies those neural pathways because you're only responding to things that are thrown at you, then there is no neural development at all. How does one navigate this in a classroom and not undermine learning and development, not replace learning and development with AI? So, Tanushree, what do you?
Yeah, so I mean, how we look at the transfer schools and building on what Sir said, that when we look at the history and we say that whenever there is a revolution which has happened, there was always a situation which was there, and therefore there was a need of revolution which was there. And so when in today's day and age, when we see that there's a technology revolution which is needed, and we look at education as a situation right now, and we go back to the classroom which you are pointing it out, is that we do see that there are at the secondary and the middle school, there are transfer schools, primary India focus is, we do have the unresolved foundational gaps,
Mm.
and therefore that leads up to the the confidence levels going down in children.
Mm.
And that also leads to the disengagement with the learning altogether.
Mm.
And so when we talk about that from the student's perspective, we also say that AI can actually what they can do, and is that improvements. Sure. Do you mind if I just clarify?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So what actually AI can do in two ways, it can help teachers and students both, and we work with these two people, these two categories of individuals very closely. Is that one, AI can empower teacher to understand the learning gaps easily and fast and act on it very quickly. Second, actually, adjust the pacing, grouping, and then acting on delivering the lessons effectively. So that's where we think having AI as a tool to teacher is very powerful, right? And when I talk about the students, I think when students we only teach tools directly is when you're talking about the safeguards. I think it's a very dangerous path here. I myself have a daughter who's 11 years old. She knows about ChatGPT, Gemini, all of that. But telling her that what's right for her is important.
Yeah.
And also telling her that there are biases which plays an important role. There are, I would say, to tell her that okay, what is the foundational skill set which is required to even approach an AI tool before you get on to using an AI tool is very important. So those are some of the safeguards which are very important. AI is already in German. I can see that. So having problem solving ability and all of that safeguarding is very important. And lastly, making sure that the the human angle, where we are saying that teachers' agency is not being dissolved. Teacher is empowered by all of this is important, and also how we can enable not just teacher, because student is not only learning by teachers. Teachers, students are also learning by their parents, by their grandparents, by the community, all of that. And AI is accessible by everybody right now.
Yeah.
So I think I know we are focused on classrooms right now, but when we talk about students, they are learning from
Everywhere.
So
Correct.
that's not just the focus of a student learning right now.
Yeah, no, well said. I think also the point you made about agency, whether student or teacher agency, who's making the choices for who, how is learning happening, and is there a way to know what is the kind of learning that's taking place and the experiences that we are exposed to. At the same time, those who are having foundational gaps, what you referred to, if you're layering AI over pre-existing foundational gaps, then is it really a support layer either for student or for teachers? So those are some of the things to really understand, to question. So turning to the policy landscape, therefore, Vrinda, as well as Kanupriya, and both are going to speak about these things. Firstly, Kanupriya, I think when you're looking at government's various initiatives, and the bank works with the government as far as AI in education, health, in driving youth policies, in skills and livelihood. Where do you think are the opportunities to really tie these things together intersectorally, but also to say that these are not policies for young people in silos? So, experiences from across the country, maybe, or any example that you'd like to take.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share my thoughts, and thank you for this great question. And honestly, for me, this is a deja vu moment because 20, 25 years ago, when I started my career in education, internet was just like breaking the scene, right? And the conversation at that point of time was internet is here, it's going to replace teachers, learning is going to change, and the world is going to be completely different. 25 years on, we are having the same conversation about AI. But what remains unchanged is the fact that we need life skills.
Yeah.
What we need is the ability to differentiate right from wrong. Because half of the content that you're seeing on the interwebs right now is AI generated. We as educators, we as policymakers, are we instilling the right skills amongst our young people to differentiate the AI generated content from not AI generated content, specifically for the older generations, right? Yeah, we have so many of our senior citizens who get these phone calls that are AI generated, and then it turns out to be a scam, right? So how is it that we are playing a role in making sure that we enable our people of any age, be it senior citizens, be it the younger ones, to really make the right choices in tapping into this technology that is here to stay. Right? It is not going to replace humans, but it is something that is here to stay. So we as the World Bank, our responsibility is to work with governments and private sector to really invest in solutions that make a difference, that help us create public policy. And we as the World Bank always advise our clients, which could be the government or the private sector. We always say that we need solutions that are transformative, that are inclusive, but also with inclusivity comes accessibility, but with that also comes affordability. A solution has to be something that is affordable in India. Years ago, I was working in Madhya Pradesh, and we were trying to bring a solution that we had seen that had worked in inner city London, right? And my principal secretary at that point of time had said, Kanupriya, that's amazing. You're trying to bring a Jaguar, but are my roads ready to run that Jaguar? What I need in India is a Tata Nano. So when we are tapping into AI, we need solutions that are context specific, that are problem specific. It cannot be a one size model that sort of works for all, because with AI, learning is going to be more and more individualized, right? From a smaller screen, we are getting from a bigger screen, we are getting into a smaller screen. So we have to find solutions that are faster, because technology is changing as we speak. ChatGPT has been around for 3 years, but it has really revolutionized how we do it. But given that my background is in education, I'll give you two examples of education. One is that we are working in Bangladesh. We are working with something called a Sequoia app, where you can, which helps you read and learn, and AI sort of gives you diagnostic feedback in terms of how your language skills are. We are doing something similar with Vadwani AI in Gujarat, where you're helping, you're reading a statement, and AI is able to give you a feedback. But having given those examples, I would close by saying that AI by itself is not going to be the solution. One thing I've really picked up in this conversation around AI is that the answer that AI will give you is only as good as the prompts that you're asking of that AI, right? So at the end of the day, it comes down to how are we preparing the people to ask the right questions. So it comes back to the foundational skills. It comes back to the basic life skills of critical thinking, problem solving, because your AI or your technology is not going to give you simple skills like empathy. It's going to say, "Oh, you've got cancer. I don't know what to do about it." But when you sit across the table with your doctor, your doctor is going to talk to you with a little bit of empathy. So I think it comes down to life skills, making sure we are enabling our younger ones to ask the right questions. That's all.
Thank you, Kanupriya. And I think on that's a great segue to say that when we look at the national education policy and the fact that it underlines so much of what you said in terms of future readiness is not only about digital skills, socio emotional skills, higher order thinking skills, complex problem solving is not giving a prompt, because that's prompt engineering. Sometimes I wonder if I will ask AI what prompt to give and then give that prompt, and I'm then going in a loop. So I think, how do you break that loop and actually start calling a spade, which is to say, life skills, critical thinking, analytical thinking, complex problem solving are not things that can come out of AI. They have to be developed, internalized, somewhere also thought through. So there is that pause and reflect movement that we are losing, completely losing, because it's all instant. It's instant gratification on everything. So on that note, how do you actually help underline, Vrinda, and amplify what the NEP very rightly says, and that doesn't excessively focus on digital AI and tech only, but more so as a tool. So over to you, Vrinda. How do you see that?
Yeah, thank you, Dhanashri, and thank you
think a lot has been already said on that.
Can you hold the mic?
Oh, sorry. Better now?
Can't get any better. Just the
So I think one thing we really need to understand is that it's not about whether AI should be used or not. We know that it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And now we have to really figure out how we're actually doing it. And I think that's what a lot of us have already sort of talked about. We have like a lot of conversations going on how AI can, like AI tools like Hashini, for example, can really help in multilingual classrooms, can supplement teachers in learning, and even reduce their administrative tasks to a certain extent, so that they can really focus on what they are best placed for, which is that student-teacher interaction, and focusing on the student itself. I think the idea should be more around how AI is in service of us, and how because AI is also built by us. I think let's just establish that very clearly. If AI is getting enhanced, it's because we are getting enhanced at making sure that AI is becoming more nuanced in what it is sharing in terms of the information that it is giving to us. So I think the focus should shift on how we have the right skills to develop AI further. And that can only happen if we have the right critical thinking skills, right problem solving skills, than to rely on AI to give us those skills in learning. So I think that's how I would like to sort of frame it. And I actually feel that if technology is actually introduced carefully and responsibly, rather than saying that this is something to be afraid of, it's actually better to expose in a responsible manner, because that in itself is a life skill. It is a future readiness skill on how to use technology, because it is everywhere. So I think if through the NEP and through what we are learning in classrooms, if ethics around AI is becomes like a life skill on its own, I think that would really sort of lead to some of the shifts that we're talking about. We've already talked about personalized adaptive learning, the issue of access. I think there's a lot of focus from our national policies and our national government perspective on increasing access to data, and therefore increasing access to technology. And so I think these things really need to be done. But I think we are really at the surface level right now.
Right
we are
now.
still scratching the surface, so we really need to go deeper into how some of these things will actually play out in the right context, as Kanupriya was talking about, making it highly contextual based, and using it to our own service.
Absolutely. So on that note, where you're saying that it's really about adaptable skills, and those need to be front and center in education, I'm going to segue to Satyajit and move it to then employability education. If we are talking about future readiness and employability skills, and there's so much, if it's it could be edible, I can just check. It's made of chocolate perhaps. But yeah, so I think the nature of jobs changing, and there is this so much debate on it. Jobs are going to go away, we need very different kinds of skills, so the young people that who have the basic skills are no longer relevant. So there is a lot of that. At the same time, there's conversation about what do we do early on at the back end while children are still in school. How does this transition happen from education to employability? There are those conversations too. Now, you look at a global level, you would see the World Economic Forum, the Future of Jobs report. Everything there is underlined. The first 5 skills are not even tech and digital literacy. The first 5 skills are emotional intelligence, complex problem solving, empathy. Those are the kinds of skills. However, this gets lost in the conversation around employability. I know that you are doing a lot of this work across the CSR space, both on employability side, but also on education side. So your thoughts on this?
Sure. So, hope I'm audible as well. The closest I can get. And then somebody saying scream into the mic. But I think, look, and I'll sort of quickly touch upon what some people said, and I actually flip it to devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I will say that a lot of people believe that AI can't develop empathy, etc. With training, AI can do, it can basically replace whatever humans are doing. humans shouldn't be so happy that we will exist forever. The future, as I see it, like I'm closer to what our physics lab
Yeah.
says, that there's a, I believe the possibility of singularity, possibility
Yeah.
of right machines. It's very
Mm.
awesome. And definitely, I think the reason, one great point about these things is empathy and emotional intelligence. And those are the top skills today, for example, which that we've been spoken about, because somewhere I feel that humans actually are losing. Right? So you had somebody spoke about, okay, I go to a doctor and doctor actually empathizes with me, while AI does not. Today, when you go to something, AI tool maybe built for dealing with patients, it may actually show more empathy and then I'm doctor. Doctors who deal with a massive caseload, he may like, come on, tell me what's the issue. So I think keeping that in mind, and sort of saying that, hey, frankly, and also I think a lot of people are still using, frank, none of us know, right, what's going to happen to you. But
Mm.
by 50, maybe 25 years from now. So I would say, look, from as an employer, and also as somebody who's also investing into
Yeah.
training, both at the school level and as well as at the skilling level, which is probably the bridge between educated youth
Yeah.
coming into work. We are looking at sort of development of these skills, right? Critical thinking,
Yeah.
creativity, because these are skills which are very difficult to teach. I mean, as somebody gets more advanced, right? I'm not creative. Somebody at age 45, it's very difficult for somebody to come and teach me.
Mm.
Or frankly, perhaps at even 20,
Mm.
maybe difficult. But I think those are the earlier on you get into these skills. And that also comes from the fact that with AI, people don't have to spend so much time learning up stuff.
Yeah.
That entire thing of rote learning, etc., is
Faster.
hopefully going
Mm.
on. Uh, you believe the new education policy and all these things. So I think I would say, and our CSR program is also focusing on the life skills, right? And I think the question here is, will life skills be relevant? Definitely. Right? So
Mm.
the short answer is definitely, and I think more important than that, right? Because
Mm.
AI, a lot of the other stuff will be easier to
Automated.
manage,
Mm.
etc.
Yeah.
And also life skills for you.
Yeah. You wanted to say something? I thought you wanted to, but it's okay. We can have a conversation. Please go ahead, sir.
Then we can continue.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do now, Satyajit, thank you, and I think it's good to have someone who's saying it from the other side and also giving a perspective on what may or may not change. The question I think is more about whether we want AI to go there or not, because end of the day, I believe we are programming AI and AI not programming us, at least up until now, until we want to go into some space or odyssey kind of a movie. But I feel that empathy, human qualities, for example, intuition is a great example to say I'm not sure how AI will ever develop intuition. It will develop intuitive programming, but not intuition. So I think values, purpose, because AI, if it is not aimed towards a purpose, then I don't know where is it aimed. It can go anywhere because it has limited accountability, zero accountability. I would say AI has zero accountability. It's the humans using the AI should have the accountability. But AI itself will keep generating whatever you are asking it to generate. So I think that is the intersection that we are also debating here, which is also the discussion for our next very quick round of questions. And I want to turn to you because that is the part that's missing in our conversation now, Kanika, which is to say the white elephant here, which is the digital divide. We are still saying access isn't there. We are still saying there are gender barriers to technology, and those continue. So, therefore, is there a way in which we can deploy AI to surmount some of those barriers, to make not only make access possible but solve some of those concerns that come in the way of well-being of women and girls? So can it be purpose driven towards that end, that at least here we were able to establish some level of equity, as we haven't been able to in many of the other fields? So any thoughts on that?
No, so I was thinking about this one, Dhanashri, like how do you do it without? I mean, we can and we have to, we must, right?
Mm.
How do you do it without the policy? So the
Yeah.
thing is that if we don't start there, and I was thinking also policy at two levels. So one is reading something and it said that AI is a white straight man,
Hmm.
right? Now, how is a white straight man going to respond to the questions that a rural woman in Bihar is asking?
Yeah.
And until we get AI to, so one is the policies of who's creating AI,
Yeah.
who's building AI. How do we get representation
Yeah.
there? How do we make that process inclusive?
Yes.
And I think the other is on the end of the so-called last mile user, which is the access and just the mindset change work that we have to do to break the structural barriers that prevent women and girls from accessing digital services
Digital
or
services.
just
Yeah.
information.
Hmm.
So I think at both those levels, so which is why AI isn't the answer to this
Yeah.
problem of
Yeah.
AI. The answer will lie in the behavioral change and in the
Hmm.
policies that we now create.
Yeah.
And if we don't do that soon, we're going to be creating a wider divide that we know, of course. So I don't have an answer per se,
Yeah.
but I'm just thinking if we know this, and like everyone laughed a little bit when I said that, but we know it now, we've known it for a while. What are we doing about it, and who's going to take that first step? And I think it's great that we're sitting here in an AI summit being held in India. It could have been held maybe elsewhere in India, but even that I think is telling of the fact that that everyone's looking in that direction.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm hoping that we can think at both these levels. So sort of structural barriers that I was talking about have to solve also for I also feel like we'll talk about caste, we'll talk about gender, we'll talk about services, we'll talk about all of those things. How often is digital literacy part of that, or access to technology part of that discourse and dialogue? And how often is sort of the gendered approach in the current system part of the dialogue?
An interesting thing that I was reading that AI being developed, as you said, mostly in the West, did not imagine the fact that in India, most of the people you referred to in rural areas and remote areas are working on shared devices, not personalized devices. So when you are using AI on shared devices, what is that kind of experience, and how does then it becomes accessible and personalized for individuals? So I think it's something that we've not thought through, and within which it's important to look at the various intersections of the change that we are trying to drive. And needless to say that it has to go beyond QR codes, right? Like, it's not enough to say that everybody has a QR code to make services accessible, but just the Pratham study, which is the ASA report, when it looked at digital data, it's saying that boys know how to use Google Maps, girls don't know how to. So girls know how to use a smartphone or maybe WhatsApp or a YouTube, not Google Maps. So if I have to reach somewhere, that is the navigation skill I lack. I mean, it's a simple app. So I think it's important to understand how much time you get on the phone. Is it a shared device? Who gets it? For what purpose? For how long? And these questions have not been answered, even though I see a QR code almost everywhere in India. So I think it's dramatic, right? QR codes are everywhere, but we've not answered fundamentals yet. So thank you for raising that point. Tanushree, turning to you on another question of dilemma. So, which is to say that we need to harness AI for 21st century skills. Now, how do you get there? We are not able to keep AI in check, as Satyajit is saying. So I think now we have to harness it for 21st century. Where are the opportunities, or it is all just risky and risk driven?
So, I mean, when we say 21st century skills, again, I would say we look at the system at three levels.
Yeah.
When both from systems lens, then we look at from, and I'm talking purely education, and so both from the systems lens, then from a teacher lens and a student's lens, and skills, 21st century skills are required at all three levels.
Yeah.
And starting from the systems lens, where we say that okay, we need AI skills which can actually help the system to have the actionable insights to take right decision at the right time for their education programs. And that's where the AI is very useful. So that is one. And for that, you you need to develop AI solutions around that. So that is one. Second is that for the teachers, we again we say that we have AI tools and 21st century skills. Actually, we believe that AI can actually helpful in that. So we start with again going back to your problem that we don't have personalized like devices. There was another place where I was in a panel discussion where people were like really talking about AI has everything, AI has done everything. I was like, okay, there are 30 people in the room who are from education sector. People are forgetting the reason that why they are in this room. You are forgetting the reason that there is one child who's sitting in one rural district in Odisha who doesn't have a device or internet or electricity to charge that device.
Correct.
And you're talking about AI. So, please come back to reality and tell me where is AI. So, just talk about the point that, where you can talk about using AI for a cohort, maybe not for a child, but where teacher can use AI for a cohort and understand that here I have and reality of a government school where they have 90 children or 100 children in the school classroom, where you can use AI to understand, okay, here are my 40 children lagging behind on these concepts, and there I need to improve that. So then that's the part of the 21st century skill according to us.
Correct.
So that is one. That's the second layer. Now coming to the child, which is the student level. So then we say that okay, again going back to the foundational pieces of AI, which is contributing to 21st century skill. That are we telling them that what's right for them, how to use AI? So that's for me is a 21st century skill, and there I have an example from Kapur schools where we are partnering with Central Square Foundation to implement a program in Odisha and Tripura, which is AI Samad. It's an AI literacy program where we are delivering program for teachers and students. Where we're teaching teachers how to use AI, how to use tools and everything. But before that, we're telling them what's the foundational components of AI. So that's the first step of, I would say, 21st century skills. So those are the three system layers we talk about when we talk about 21st century skills, and moving there when it comes to AI as a context.
AI is the context in 21st century. So extending that to Kanupriya, she spoke about actionable insights. Are there any global experiences where we can learn from some of those actionable insights to the points that Tanushree made?
I think for India, looking at global is quite confusing. Because what is global, right? When you look at India, then you will say, "Acha, theek hai, this is the GDP, so then let's look at a comparative
Or a
GDP
population size,
right,
or
a population size." And then you will say, "Nahi, but like Maharashtra is very different from what's happening in Bihar." So I feel like in India, I'll go back to saying that context is everything, right? Like the work that we're doing with Sir in Meghalaya is very different from the work that I'm doing with Government of India in Madhya Pradesh, right? So at the end of the day, in India, it's all about it's all about the context, and we as a World Bank are really focusing on our global mandate, not just in India, is really ensuring we have jobs, right? And going forward, jobs is the agenda. It's the agenda that Government of India has also identified. It's the agenda that we're focusing on, and we're looking at jobs globally through various sort of lenses, like you were saying. And globally, the driving force remains that yes, the future of jobs is changing. It will change. Like 5 years ago, if somebody said, "Oh, I'm an influencer," we wouldn't have known what that job is, right? But right now, everyone's an influencer. How do you train a 15-year-old to be an influencer? You can't. But somehow they have.
You need to train.
You don't need to train. They are quite more successful than you and I after having spent 20 years in these careers, right? So jobs are changing. The focus needs to remain, and I'll go back to the point that I made earlier, in making sure that we give our children the skills that are transferable. Right? The content piece, AI can give you anytime, right?
Yeah.
Like I was trying to desperately make my talking points last evening, and I asked my AI. I said, "AI, I think you're an education specialist at the bank. Can you make these talking points for me?" My AI was a woman because I was talking to myself, and she gave me those points, and I was like, "Yeah, but your points don't make sense to me because this is not my view. This is what you're looking at."
And
So
picking up from
and
what's
picking up
available.
something
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
think is important. But for me, how look at AI and how I look at integrating AI is very different. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do globally is making sure that young people have access, affordable access to AI, but with a clear trajectory of where it takes them, right?
Yeah.
And I want to close on the point of what you were trying to make on the learning piece. One of the biggest pieces of learning, and I say this as an education specialist, is the frustration that comes with learning. Right? When I'm trying to do a carryover subtraction, I struggle with it. I struggle with it today. Right? If you take out that frustration from learning, learning is not what is meant to be, right? And the moment you just ask, if I just tell ChatGPT, do this answer for me,
Yeah.
I've taken out that frustration, which is a very key element in learning, right? So I should leverage all the technology I can, but I have to go through those frustrations, those failures before I become adaptable
Yeah.
and before I have the skills that I need. But in globally, that's what we are trying to focus on, that we give young people the tools that make them ready to thrive in the real world.
That's a great point, Vrinda, to start talking about thriving and also to start talking about context. So, are we thriving in our respective context? Besides all of the variables of access, about classrooms that are multi level classrooms with different grades sitting together. So, if that is the case, is there anything that a collaborative of 30 plus organizations can navigate better because they bring in all of these aspects under an umbrella? And what is a way in which that collaborative can actually shape conversations around AI? And how can AI then stay at the intersection of these conversations and not overcome or rather ride over those conversations?
Yeah, thanks. So just a little bit of context
Yes,
to what
yes, yes.
she was saying. We are sort of building a large collaborative of 30 plus organizations that is coming together to build more momentum towards life skills and what is its importance. And I think the reason is also to just understand what thriving means. And I think it is not something that can be discovered in silos, which is why something like a collaborative approach is required. I think we keep talking about it quite a bit in terms of collaboration at different perspectives, but I think it is important that people in social sector also come together to sort of understand really what it means in practice and how it can be leveraged. So I think one of the reasons for coming together is to build that strong momentum and think about implementation, which is more collaborative in nature and is not overlapping and not stepping over each other and what we are doing. The other one is that it will really help in just a lot of diverse stakeholders because such rich experience come from so many organizations working in so many different contexts, which I think is extremely important in India. So how can all of those experiences consolidate so we have a strong understanding of what life skills even
Means.
In the Indian context, for example. We talk about a lot of things like resilience, which doesn't even have a word in a lot of Indian languages. So,
Yeah.
what does it actually mean to be focusing on something like resilience, something like critical thinking? Is important, and it can only happen if we all come together and bring our diverse perspectives, not just organizations, but these organizations are also working with so many stakeholders, as parents, communities, youth. So how can they also become part of defining what life skills and what thriving mean? And I think AI can really play a role in just taking something like this to scale and making it a little more sustainable in that sense. So I think we as and all the organizations and the stakeholders coming together also need to define how AI then can be leveraged to ensure that this momentum that we're trying to build is actually built in an inclusive manner, which is also one of our taglines for this event is that AI needs to be
Inclusive. Yeah, thank you so much. And closing, Satyajit, closing thoughts in response to all of this is more about how can training and education systems respond appropriately, keeping the balance, yet keeping the eye on what AI can produce. How can it help? How does it become a useful tool, keeping it purposeful? Thoughts?
I can see some people standing in the door. The gates are about to fall. But I think I would say, look, and I think it's been covered in this session. I think beautifully covered about the importance of using, importance of using institutions to not just expose people to AI, searching into AI, but also train them about how to use AI, what are the guardrails of it.
Hmm.
Also, take the benefit of AI today and in the future. Because AI will allow people access to a lot of information. So I think the importance of using institutions to focus on life skills
Yeah.
has become even more important. I think I think education institutions need to think of themselves as centers for capability development rather than
Hmm.
knowledge, just imparting
Yeah.
knowledge. Because today kid can sit at home and pick up a lot of knowledge, but nobody's guiding him. So I think more
Hmm.
the institutions are more like Sherpas today
Yeah.
rather than
Hmm.
someone who coming to you and telling you you must do this and you must do that. I think sorry, some Tanushree Gupta about her when I was daughter.
Hmm.
She has to guide her.
Hmm.
But also we have to also ensure that the guiding is done in a neutral spirit because nowadays kids are
Yeah.
still again
Getting
some
guided.
yeah. So how do you know
Yes.
make the part of the process and I think it's also a sense of taking this forward as a dialogue rather than again somebody preaching to somebody.
Mm. 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 Understood. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think thank you for highlighting the fact that it has to be an institution for capability building. I think that's to be double underlined. So, on that note, your closing remarks, sir. What do you make of this conversation? Where do you think there's opportunity, and where do you think there is a risk, and where do you think there is a very divine middle that we can actually take?
Yeah, I like the divine middle part. So I think like by listening, thank you for all your insights and sharing your perspectives. Just like from policy perspective, I wanted to just summarize this discussion. While we have, I see like it's AI is a great opportunity because everyone says like I like what Tanushree, in fact, Kanupriya what mentioned. How do you actually solve problems? So I think it's like a AI is going to provide tremendous opportunity for well-being.
Mm.
So I'm just like trying to frame it from Amartya Sen's model of well-being versus agency.
Need. Mm.
So while AI provides a lot of well-being because everyone can, but that well-being has to be provided by somebody. As I like what you all mentioning, like there is a digital divide. How do you actually ensure that everyone has an access? Maybe from policy perspective, the government should focus on providing that well-being structure. Like how do you provide access to an equal access to everyone? So that the second one is a very interesting agency. So agency comes from again a lot of human interactions, purpose, problem solving, like when you add leadership. So all this again agency. So agency is something that you have all the information, all the tools, all the everything capability, but how do you exercise that? I think that's where the middle path, as you said very rightly. On one hand, you use the technology, but at the same time, on the other hand, we should really see that like how actually we are creating that agency to solve problems, to work more purposefully. I think that's something it requires a lot of thinking on those lines, and there investing on human capital is all the more important. In fact, we're working with both World Bank and the Magic Foundation in terms of unleashing that potential. In fact, in Meghalaya, we have one session every week for the children on life skills. It's the most sought after session these days because people really love to really come together and unleash their potential. Not just passively receiving information, but actually how actually we proactively use that knowledge and solve the problem. That's where the humanity is all about, like how actually you're solving problems. So I think that I see, a great potential. And thank you for the middle path, divine middle path idea. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you have explained thriving beautifully, but if I don't close it, I will not thrive any further than I have so far. So thank you so much. The room, one will have to assume that the room is full of warmth, and so it is warm. I know it has been terribly uncomfortable, but there is no air inside. I think we have had a beautiful conversation, lots of lovely thoughts, inspiring, insightful, and I hope that's given us food for thought, though not enough air. So on that note, I would like to thank all of you, Satyajit, Tanushree, Kanupriya, Kanika, Vrinda, and Sir Sampath. I think beautifully put. I think we have had all sides of the conversation. We hope to pull these threads together and hope they add up to a beautiful tapestry of our thoughts in driving the next conversation towards AI that's more meaningful than this one. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. For a picture? Yeah. Okay. Sure.